Hola! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thunderdome. Not really. Welcome to another exciting, loud, obnoxious ZBrush live stream of Mr. Paul Gaboury here. I'm your host for today, your sculptor, or whatever we want to call me today. So we are continuing on our journey of my Gremlin. I'm going to show you guys kind of how I started. As you can see, I went through and really started honing in the entire model's anatomy more where I wanted it, and I've got now the base where I want everything. And then, as you can see in the head, I started now putting in a lot of other details. So I want to talk about that next phase, because that's obviously the goal of these streams for me, is you guys are just watching me make this Gremlin from the ground up. What up, BT Sculptor? Welcome. Thanks for coming. Max. Looks like Max Lyons. Hello. Thanks, Randy Dice. You've become now my new assistant for my streams. Let me know when the video and audio is good. I always know when the video is good. It's just the audio. You know, sometimes I forget to unmute myself. But I've been getting pretty good at this. I've been remembering. But, Randy, I appreciate you being here all the time. Lexter, welcome. So again, I want to go through the process, then I'm going to show you another set of brushes that I like to use, and then I'm going to show you, obviously, we're going to get into looking at some painting and how I'm going to start going into painting. So next week's stream will hopefully we'll be getting into, I'll have, this is a pipe dream I like to have for myself, is most of him pretty much all sculpted and pretty much majority of the paint at least blocking out. And we'll go through that process also next week. And then also I'll show you guys, I know it was asked in the very first stream of the Gremlin, posing him. So we'll go through that as well. You know, once I'm done, I might want to have some more fun with him. I might put him in like a little outfit costume. More little tip of the cap to Gremlins 2 with all the crazy gremlins that were in that movie. I might do that a little bit more. Hey Nerb, 2Key, how are ya? Pre-drag, nice to see you here. Thanks for coming in. So again, we talked about last week, I started going through and showing you my steps and my brushes that I made to start putting like little wrinkles in and start refining this a lot more. So I went through and started refining everything, like I said, really making sure a little bit more of my bone structure in the hands and the feet, added some more volume in the legs and in the arms. In the back, I started playing with, as you can see, the pattern that I'm going to put here on the tail, and started going through this. And I started moving up to the head. So we're going to really take a look at kind of the workflow I did to get to here. Some of the techniques I'm using to start. You can see I'm putting all these spikes in his head. I'm going more for that spiky head approach, and then continuing that theme through like his jaw. And I'm planning to continue that theme down his back a little bit, probably too. And that's going to be like an ongoing thing for my Gremlin, is that spiky kind of face theme thing I want to have. So as you can see, I started putting that also on the bottom of the leg. I might even throw one on the elbow just to keep that going through here. It's all going to come down to, again, what I really like using is this. I really like to, now I'm at like this point, kind of start looking at how my silhouette is also looking through here. I've really grown to really love that feature, because it's kind of like a double thing where I'm turning and my eyes going back and forth between the two. So it's become very, very, very helpful for me. And seeing, you know, things like, do I want a wider rib cage? It's easier to see it in this form than sometimes in this form, right? Okay, so I know, again, as always, I keep my eyes on the chat for you guys. So as questions are coming through, and for those that are some of my regulars now watching me be crazy, wild, and wacky, I will definitely go on tangents. Okay, look at that. Randy's already throwing a question out there. I like it. Get your sculpt other than reducing the work area size window nut. So is there a way to reduce the aliasing when getting from the sculpt other than reducing the work area? I'm not sure. You want to reduce what? The whole work area itself here? Like, you just want that to be smaller? Is that what you're asking for? Like, you're actually, in essence, the document that, so like you see everywhere I go, you can see the document's covered for me. I'm not on a big resolution monitor right now either. It's only it's only HD. It's only 1920 by 1080. Is that what you're asking, Randy? How to do that? To reduce, in essence, this work area? Are you on like a 4K monitor or something like that and you just want a smaller work area? Or are you talking something specifically about the sculpt? For anti-aliasing, yeah, he's probably doing what I just pressed. I personally don't recommend that. So he's probably using AA half here. So when you click this, we apply an anti-alias to your model, and we cut the document in half. The reason why I personally do not recommend that is you're adding another process on top of the document. Okay, and you got to remember, ZBrush is software rendered, right? So you're adding another process that ZBrush has to go and calculate through. But this, again, this is a personal artist preference. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying, me personally, I don't do it because anything right now, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's clean enough for me to look at, right? So if you're going to do that, I would go in the document. Like, you can see my document right now is 1479 by 1920. So if I did want to use that AA half, then what you probably are going to want to do is doing this. So we're going to come out of edit mode by hitting the T. And I'm going to say, yeah, go ahead and switch. And then I'm going to Control N so it gets rid. And then I guess this is definitely Tangentville, okay, right now. And then I'm going to say, okay, go to Document, and I'm just going to double it. Then it's asking, would you like to resize? And now it's double, right? So now my document's almost 3,000 pixels by 1840, which is great. But again, my Cintiq that I'm on right now can only do 1920 by 1080 anyways. Okay? And so now you draw my model back out and then hit the T key for I don't know, tops. Okay? So really, you know, it looks the same, but it's really not, okay? So I'm going to change my document color here a little bit so you guys can get a better visual. Let's go with maybe something like that, okay? And you can see here, if I actually go over here and zoom out, you can see really how big the document is and where he's sitting within the document, okay? So if you hit the actual button, it'll put the document back to, in essence, a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, your zoom is just like you would do in any other 2D program. You're zooming out or you're zooming in, right? So this is going to get really pixelated like that. So, Randy, if you're seeing something like this in your document, then your problem is you've zoomed into your document. So if you just hit the actual, it'll see your model back and the document's back to 1-to-1. But now that I've done all this, I do an AA half. Now, in essence, this has now got an anti-alias always being applied, right? Again, it's something you can definitely do. I don't do it because it's just going to add more resourcing in ZBrush having to rendering this. And you can see my model's already sitting at 54 million, right? So I'd rather keep, for me, performance is more important than that little anti-aliasing that's being applied. Because don't remember, I'm going to be able to render, right? So I prefer, me personally, working more like just with the document that I get based upon my monitor, which we're doing every time we launch, as long as this W sign's on, and then working this way. But to answer your question, there you go. That's how you do it. Okay? So, good question. Good question. A predator gremlin, huh? I'll take it. I'll take it. Zed is, you know, he's maybe a mixture of things. You know, I'm taking some artistic liberty here, I think. Okay, so for me, right, you can see now in my folder, I've only got 9 subtools, right? So what I've done, though, is I've got a head here that is actually 50 million polygons. And this head is, everything is welded and combined. Okay? So I'm probably, because I'm going to go maybe very extreme with this. I'm still debating how, it's all relevant, I think, to what you're trying to do with this piece, right? When it comes to polygon counts. Like, if I'm just doing a final render and I'm going to have, like, paint and, like, I'm never going to get really close, I'm probably good enough with this head being at 50 million. Like, even though if I start zooming up really close, right, you can see that there is some faceting happening through here, right, going on. But if I'm never going to allow anybody to see this close, it's really not that important. Okay? Andrew, I like where your head's at. Tangent alert would make a dope shirt for sure. Okay? I can't, BT Sculptor, honestly, for cloth, the only thing I can think of on the top of my head, it's old, was something when we did a special user group meeting with Naughty Dog, and it's really old. So let me see, hold on, let me see if I can find it really quick for you, since you're asking for something with, because I think as a Godin was done by Michael. He's not a Naughty Dog anymore as far as I know. But it's old. So let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Talk amongst yourselves. Coffee talk. Coffee talk. Neither here nor there. Is Zed, my gremlin, coming along? Does he look like a gremlin now? Or is he still look like Baby Yoda? Go. Discussion. Now, while I look for this. I think here, let's see. I think I might have found it. Let me see. Yeah. But let me see if the video is still. Ah, yeah. Okay, so here you go. I found it. Yes. Yes, Michael Nolan. Yes. So there you go. There's a link. It's long and huge, but there you go. I would watch that. He actually, that's all he does in that demo is talk about cloth and how he uses ZBrush to do his cloth. And I know Joseph Drust also did during one of the summits. He showed a technique that he liked to use where he brought in something very base from Marvelous Designer and then used ZBrush to really punch all of it. I would have to try and find that. That one's going to be harder to find. Okay. To your question about using the Z modeler when you're doing a bridge and doing a Bayesian curve, if you got sometimes, there will be sometimes some points maybe will be unwelded. If that's happening to you, what I would do is coming down here into geometry and in modified topology, just hit the weld points here and then your problem solved. That can happen from time to time. It really comes down, the time you're going to run into that depends on the actual physical size of the model to, like, say the floor grid. Like, so my floor grid's kind of hard to see now. So let's go ahead and change my document color to say white, and let's take my floor grid and let's just up the framing so you can see my floor grid, right? So this is kind of what something you would want to look at. My floor grid, right, and my relationship to him on the floor grid is relevant and relative. So that's where maybe you might well run into that issue with maybe the welding points, but it's an easy solve. Just hit weld point, problem solved. Okay, so to answer your question, Kindaro. All right, so moving on back to my Mr. Gremlin. Now we're done with those quick tangents. So I have this head. So then for me, what I did is just like we talked about last stream, but just in case people were not there, right? I already had this guy going and off and running. He's actually one mesh and another mesh. So really the better benefit for me is if I was going to go down the, again, this is again just sculpting and general thinking, right? So again, what my plan is for this guy is eventually 3D printing, or actually I would like to do kind of like a CNC and do like, hey, this life size and put him somewhere here in my office because my wife's not going to allow a gremlin in the house, that's for sure. Okay. But I might want to do like one in wood and do some cool wood stains, like some of his, you know, the spikes are different wood stain and the things on his shoulders are different wood stain. That's where my mind's going. Again, it's a pipe dream I have. So that's relevant. If I'm going to say, and I'm production where I'm in the film, and I'm really going to want to push the elements, I might want to keep the ears always separated from the head. Okay? So take the approach where, again, I want to weld everything together because I want to be able to start sculpting across the ear into the face again, right? So for me, because I have these two pieces turned on, they're two different polygroups, I'm going to say click here, and then I'm going to say Boolean folder. I don't need to use the Boolean, again, with dsdiv, because I'm not using dynamic subdivs. What's up, Jimmy Anime? Right? And I'm going to say Boolean folder. And of course, what it's going to do for me is it's actually going to turn off everything in the folder, make a new subtool here for me. What you see is now just the head. Okay? But the nice thing is my polygroups are maintained. Okay? So if down the road I'm going, okay, right now I want to be able to sculpt across the model so everything's fusing together really nice and working well. But maybe I'm going to want to, at some point, I may want to separate the ears again from the model, right? Because it might be just better for me for UVing. It might be better for me to get more polygon count, right, on the ears. And then also to help me, you know, if I'm going to really get crazy, I can even split one ear be one subtool and another ear be another subtool. It's just going to allow me to set myself up to in a good upward trend for getting as many polygons if I want, if that's the important thing. Now, if this is a character, again, that's just going to be in a final render and it's going to be this far away, I don't really need probably concern myself to that. It's just I'm going towards a final concept render image. Or like I said, it might be I'm printing something, and is that print, you know, relevant? Is it like Funko Me, where it's only so big, only so much of the details are going to come out, right? Or am I going more like life-size Gremlin, right? Then all this is relevant. Okay, so I like, again, to set myself up for, I don't know yet what I'm doing with this guy. So I'm going to set myself up for this. I'm going to keep my poly grouping, okay? So I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to come in here, right? And I'm going to come through my geometry, and I want to remesh this because I want to now start sculpting on it, and I want some supporting topology flow, okay, to happen through here, okay? And I'm probably going to do this more than once, actually, because now that I've started sculpting on my other one, I would probably go do that process again, and I'll show you that after this. So I'm going to come through here, my Zremesher, and I'm going to put on my keep groups, okay? And I'm going to say I don't need smoothing grouping to happen, okay? What that slider, again, is telling ZBrush to do is when you go to remesh, before you do, wherever there are polygroups, kind of smooth those edgings. So it's this slider, in essence, is kind of like doing this, and this is also a great little feature for you all, is coming here and saying, okay, let's go ahead and mask just by polygroups. And now the mask is only happening where the polygroups are meeting, right? This, I use this sometimes because then I can flip it, right? And then you can blur it, and then now right there, I can smooth that out. I can do a lot of things right there, right? So in essence, this slider is doing something like this, okay, where it's only going to smooth along the borders of your polygroups in essence, okay? So that's why I'm turning it off, because I don't really need that. I'm going to go symmetrical right now, okay? And I'm going to say, let's go ahead and remesh this. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to start with the default, okay? Because if I want to try and get to as high number of polygons as possible, the important thing here for us all is trying to keep level 1 as low in polygon count as possible. Because by me doing that, I open myself up to more subdivisions, and i.e. I could probably go to more polygons in the long run. Okay, and so you can see what this has done is I've got a remesh now, right? Okay, everything's welded now, but the polygroups are being maintained, right? So this, if I smooth it out, see, it's all smoothing out fine. But at any point down my pipeline, if I did want to rip the ears off, all I got to do is just show this polygroup and split, right? So this is pretty important for me. This, I would say, this is good. So if you look, I did not do that in the head that I'm sculpting on right now, right? So I put myself, I did this on purpose actually for the stream purpose. So now I'm like, okay, it's going to be harder for me to rip these ears off because now I got to go through and do a hand masking, right? And it's not going to be such a clean mask to what I want to do to rip things off compared to now. I've already set myself up for that. Okay, now, the other thing that I might do, because I just said my polygon count is going to be important, right? So let's take a little snapshot of this guy. All right, let's go here and let's do a 3/4. And then let's do a snapshot of the side view. Okay, one thing again I want to bring up is right now I'm sitting around, 11,000 polygons. I've got a nice flow right now. It's following more where I was sculpting, right? You can see the nose is following the nose. That makes things better for sculpting. This is why I'm a big component person of getting out of Dynamesh mode and using the Zremesher and then using subdivision levels, because then Dynamesh isn't going to give me any kind of flow to the topology. The fact that I have some flow to topology makes sculpting better and easier. What's going on, Sad? Thanks for coming in again. Okay, so one thing I want to point out for you all is there are multiple algorithms here for the Zremesher. So sometimes what I like to do is see what results giving me something better. Okay, so this is version 3.0 that I just clicked on. If you guys hold the Alt key and click on Zremesher, there is another kind of Zremesher algorithm. Okay, so this is a second 3.0 algorithm that is going to happen. Okay, gotta save. So important. Make sure you're saving your projects. I'm gonna turn that off. Okay, so let me actually go turn that off right now. Let me also make sure. Okay, screensaver. And all right, well the durations are fine. We'll keep that. So you can see, remember, this one is around like 11,000, and look, this one's around more 8,000. So that's 3,000. That's a lot. You guys got to think, when you go to divide, you're dividing in multiples of 4. So I might get more divisions one way than another. So now I look at this and say, is the flow really that much better here? Right? I would say this is holding the nose better than this one. Like I said, the flow is happening here, right? But this one's definitely holding the nose a lot better. There's not really much change in the ears. The rest of it is pretty close. I think this flow is better here. So you can see this. I don't like that star right there. Coming through, I would say the mouth is a little bit, it's a little bit better through here, right? So this is important, people, because what we're going to be doing now in this next stage is I'm going to start now dividing up my mesh. And if I'm starting with low polygons, right, I will get more subs. So you see, I'm at 2 million here, right? This is 2 million polygons, but I'm already at subdivision level 5. That's really good. One thing I want to stress here is you want to try, if you can, get as many subdivision levels as you can, because it's so easy for me. If I want to make a big change, I can go way down, and this is so low that it's easy to make big changes. And then when I'm trying to put the details in, I'm at a higher subdivision level. So in essence, you think about this, I can divide again, and now I'm at 8 million, and then I can divide again, and now I'm going to be in the multiples of 4, right? 8, 16, 4, 32 million. So now I'm at 32 million on subdivision level 7, right? So this approach, you got to look, I'm not going to be able to go another level. So I can get to subdivision level 7 with this, okay? Which is going to get me around the 32 million mark. Okay, so that's with the Alt algorithm, okay? And then so let me look again at doing just not holding the Alt key, just clicking, doing the just a regular algorithm, clicking. Again, this is going to give me ballparky, like in the 12,000-ish. You know, it might be a little bit different. I'm not going to get the exact same remesh every single time. It's just not going to be possible to do an algorithm like that where it gives me the exact same result every single time on the same model. But it's pretty darn close. Okay? And then now if I divide this one up, let's see what I can get to. Because this is going to be relevant to me, because as you can see, I'm already at 50 million on the head, right? And if I want to break apart, so see, now I'm at 11 million at 6. So in essence, my level 7 in this remesh is going to be higher than my level 7 of the other one. So you see I'm at 47 million. So this actually remesh is better for me because it's going to allow me to get to a higher subdivision level. and we only allow 100 million polygons, regular subdivision polygons. You can go to 1 billion with a B with HD geometry if you wanted to. So then for me, this remesh is the better one. I'm getting a little bit better flow, and my subdivision level 7 is 15 million more polygons. That's a lot. That's not a little. So this would be important to me, okay? So I will tend to do this sometimes, especially when I know, hey, this model, I want, like, my Gremlin, I want it to be awesome. As a Gremlin fan, and when I was sculpting a little bit last night, I threw Gremlins 1 on because it's on HBO Max now. Win! And then they got Gremlins 2 now, so I'm going to be watching that too while I'm working on this. So I really want to push the detailing here. So I'm definitely going with this, okay? So with that said, anytime you guys press on the big Zremesh button, that's version 3.0. When you turn this Legacy 2018 on, that's version 2.0. The 3.0 does an amazing job now. It's so, especially when you're going to start involving polygroups. Like if I remesh this with the polygroups, this one's probably going to be pretty good, not that bad. But for hard surface, you're going to see a massive difference from 2.0 to 3.0. I pretty much say in 3.0 now because I think the algorithm is way better now, and the progression that we've done with this is so much better. So let's see what they give us here. So the last one, right, gave us around, so you can see this one's pretty good, but you see there's actually another extra 1,000 polygons. So this one technically would give me more, a higher subdivisions, a level 7, it'll give me more polygons. So it's just, I just want you guys to be aware of this, okay, and understand it, right? I'm going to go with 3.0 because I just like the flow of the topology better, and the amount of polygons I get, you know, another couple million would be nice, but I'd rather have this flow. Okay, so Comics Legends asking a great question for all you guys is, is there a way to redirect the flow? Yes, there's a way to guide the flow. Okay, but you got to be careful with this because this is an automatic retopologizer, and if you go a little too crazy with this, right, you're in essence kind of starting to trump that automatic ability. You are now just trying to control the topology too much. Okay, so what you can do is go to your brushes, and right here there's a Zremesher Guides. Let me make sure you guys can see that. You guys can see that there. Let me highlight it more here. So let's go brush, Zremesher Guides, and then there you go. Okay, so this is a guide brush to allow this. Okay, so let me come through here now, and I can say, hey, you know what, the flow, I want to make sure that this flow through here might help if I actually switch to Zremesher Guides and kind of come this direction. And then maybe the nose, I really want to sell that a little bit more. And then the mouth, I want to make sure turns and comes like that, right? The key word here is guides, right? So it's just about guiding the flow, okay, for you, so it could help for sure. And then there's a slider that controls this, okay? And you can see I'm working symmetrically. So there are curves here, and then you can see there's a ghosted curve on the other side. So really, I only need to draw on the left side, or i.e. screen right now. And ZBrush will take care of the other side because I'm symmetrical. And then right here, there's a curve strength slider. So I have found the default works really well. Very rarely have I changed that slider. The higher you put that slider, the more ZBrush is really trying to make sure an edge goes exactly with the curve. But when you do that, you're making it more difficult to create a nicer topology flow with the automatic part of the algorithm. Okay, and the lower you go, the more it's just pushing it, just being like, it's just a general shove towards the curve, right? So if we remesh this, let's see what we get now with these guides I've put on. And remesh, and again, we were getting around 11,000, 11,300, right, with this. So let's see if this changes our polygon count. Let's see if this gives us maybe even a little bit better of a flow that I might like, okay? And then we're good. It's probably not going to be that big a difference because it's not like I have anything crazy going on in this Gremlin head right now. There's nothing nutso, right? So see, it's pretty much giving me the same. I got an extra 300 polygons. right? And the flow's not a drastic difference. I would say, yeah, maybe the eye's looking a little bit better there, and the mouth is looking a little bit better. Probably. Not much, though. Okay? So that's how you can guide it along. Yeah, this is a gremlin. Absolutely, that's what I'm working on right now, is gremlining up. Okay, so here, let me actually let me import some textures that I've been using as well, as kind of like a reference for me. So let me just select these guys. Let's bring in these. So for some new streamers that we have here, new people watching me be nuts in here, let's say an opacity like that. But it makes me cry that you know it was a gremlin and you didn't say Yoda. Right, so this is what I'm using as my reference. Let me go to my samples now and turn this off. Okay. So for me, right, my next thing now was starting to put in all my crazy details, right? So that's where I'm at now, again, with the head here, right? I've got a lot more details going on here, right? And then giving me where we stand with him. Where do we stand? So let's turn this off and let's put a little screenshot of where my gremlin's at currently right now. Right here. I'll put a stamp right there. There you go. Okay, so I want to start talking about how I started going through these heads, started getting some of these details. As you can see, I'm starting to now ramp up my details through here. And I'm going to show you some other brushes I'm going to start working into now for some details. So there you go. So the Zremesher will follow peaks and valleys for sure. It will look at peaks and valleys. It is analyzing the sculpt and looking at how to, it'll add more edges where there's pretty much like tighter peaks. Okay, and there you go. How I'm doing the screenshots is Shift S. So you just Shift S and that'll drop the bottle to the document. That's how I'm doing it. Okay. All right, so we've got, again, this head. Let's start going through now the process that I did with this head. So for me, I want to, I've put in a little bit of details in this head. So I'm going to divide this up a little bit. Get around this, just a couple subdivision levels. So I've got some modeling build there, right? So I've got 184,000 polygons. Okay. So Jupiter, that's what I'm getting into today, is doing skin detailing and how I'm starting to add in all my skin details. So now that I have this, what I want to do is go backwards to when I had like this, where I've got a little bit of some detail elements in there. Again, I'm going to hold the control key. I'm going to tap on that undo history. So this is just going through the undos right here. That's all I was doing there, is going through my undos. And then I'm going to move forward again, which is the subdivided remeshed person, right? So you got to think now, you can see one of them's grade, right? That's showing the mark I made on the undo. So I made it undo on number 10, right? You can see the undo history is 10 of 13. So number 10 to me was important. So I held down the control key and clicked on that. Then I moved back to 13, which the orange rectangle is showing the highlighted undo. So you can see it says, you can kind of see in the magnifier, it's saying 13 of 13. Okay, so now what I want to do is in here my subtools, I want to come to this projection, and I don't want any color, I just want geometry, and I want to say reproject the history. So what that's going to do is take on, right, the model, okay, this model, and taking this and going, okay, I want to reproject that history, and now I just click, and then there you go. I've got now, in essence, the Dynamesh sculpted version in now my clean ZBrush sculpted, ready to go Zremesher version. Okay? Cool? All right? So, to align cameras, you just hold the Shift key. So if you're trying to look straight on something, Jimmy, right? So is it possible to align a camera to the face? Why sometimes trim curve brushes slices like regular curves? Yes, that's possible. So when you guys are holding Shift key, right, this is in essence snapping to top view side view, left view, right? So if there's a certain alignment that you want to take on, you can do that, all right? And how you would do that is use the actual transpose line, right? So all I'm doing is hitting the W key to switch to move, and instead of being in this gizmo, right, I hit the Y key, and then now it's the transpose line. So that's the same thing as clicking this icon up here. All right. So now wherever I tap on the model, right, that's a normal. Okay, and it's looking at that normal, but then I can also use this to align things. So I can set kind of an alignment up, and then now I can tap, and you can see it's looking more at that normal, and it rotated my model for me, and it's following this alignment of the angle as well. So this could help with you're asking with your questions and lining for when you're trying to use brushes, like a slice brush, slice curve, or a trim curve. This could help you with that as well. Okay, so again, you just click anywhere on the mesh, okay? And then you just hover this circle. See how it's going from a single ring to this, and now you're just rotating around. So you see how it's now bold, and now I can click and move it. And then there's a white circle over here. If you hold the control key, okay, again, I'm holding control and tap, you can see it moves the model. And this is not a physical movement in space. This is a movement, orientation movement. Okay? So to give you that, that's how I did it. Okay? Okay, so great question. Another question coming through, which I think is great. These are awesome. I love these questions. So someone's asking about the polygrouping. Okay, you never want to make polygroups at the highest subdivision level. That's it. That's your problem right now, Hannibal. You're making polygroups at the highest subdivision level. The problem with that is at the higher subdivision level, you've got more polygons than at the lower subdivision level. Okay? So that's part of what your problem is also going to be, what I'm assuming you're running into. Okay, so what I mean by that, people, is if I was to do this, hold down Control key, make a mask, and hit Control W, you can see this polygroup, how it is. But as you walk down, you don't have that same number of polygons when you made the polygroup. So we can't keep it. It's not possible because the vertex points don't exist at this level. So there's no way for us to maintain that, because at the higher level, there were more, right, points of information. So this point, like right there, that I'm hovering over right now, only exists at level 3 right now, which I'm sitting at. It doesn't exist at level 2 and level 1, so we can't maintain the polygrouping. So if you want polygrouping with something that's dense, then you're going to want to delete your subdivision levels. Okay? Because even if you guys make it at the highest level and you never walk back down again, we walk down your model when you save the model. So don't ever make polygroups at the higher, any subdivision level but level 1. Only make your polygroups at level 1 if you're dealing with subdivisions. Okay, so Hannibal, most likely that is what you're running into. Okay, so let me get rid of that polygroup because I want to maintain this polygroup. So now, my next step was, okay, I wanted to start, you know, having something where putting spikes on him. I want to start placing those. I wanted to start putting the eye. So I'm just going to move this new one here. We're going to just call this second head. So I know which one I made today and which one is my welded head, right? So I got second head and welded head. And you can see I've started putting in spikes. So I want to go through this process because this is going to be important for me when I start adding my skin details. Where those spikes live are important, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I want to start throwing some spikes on here and start positioning these. So there's multiple ways we can go about this. It's pretty easy to do. So if you guys wanted to, you could just switch to, say, this curve 2 brush, right? And then this is just going to make tubes, and you can see, hey, it's got subdivision levels, though, right? So this is something where, okay, I need to make a version of this that doesn't have subdivision levels. Or this is a prime example where we can use this freeze subdivision level. So what this will allow me to do is I can freeze it, and then now I can use this brush, right? And you can see what we get, right? And I don't like this. See this distance snapping? I don't like this. So, because I want to make some close, and I don't like that it's perfect cylinders. Okay, so two things I'm going to adjust on this brush in the stroke palette. Okay, I'm going to open up curve modifiers, and right here, see this curve snapping distance? This slider controls how close does my cursor need to get before it snaps to the existing curve. So I'm going to drop this way down. I'm going to put this down to something like 10. And the other thing I'm going to turn on is size. Okay, and then I'm going to open up this graph and flip it vertically. So this is going to give me a little bit of a taper, right? So now when I draw out, see, I get something like that, right? That looks more like what I'm trying to go for with my guy, right? So now I can just draw out, I tap on the surface, deletes the curve, tap on the surface, tap on the surface, tap on the surface, right? Tap on the surface. You can definitely to speed up your process here, okay? But as you can see, I am now sculpting asymmetrical. I'm no longer really symmetrical on my model anymore, because once I start putting in details, I break symmetry a lot of times. So now I can at least, just to make things faster for me, I'll do this. So I'm just going to do a row of this, let's say just along here, because this is just the same thing over and over again, okay? So you can either go this approach, or you guys can just grab like a brush that already has a piece of topology, okay? And then now I'm going to say, all right, IMM Primitives is a great brush for me. So I'm going to click on this, and this is just going to give me a primitives brush, right? So for the sake, I'm just going to do a sphere. Okay, and I'm going to keep it pretty low, so I'm going to go sphere 32. And I can just say, okay, I can get spheres, right? And then I'm also going to, just to add another fun element in here, I'm going to come in here into my depth and kind of just drop this a little bit, so that when I'm drawing these out, the sphere's sitting inside the surface a little bit, right? Because it should sit inside the surface. These spikes are coming out of his skin, right? So you can see I can put it in embed, so then I can just make these any size that I want, and you're going to see why this way will also work for you, just doing spheres, right? And this is a fast way. I'm just trying to, and I put some on his cheek, and for me, if you notice mine, I made different ones here, and then I wanted some here, so I wanted to put some there, I wanted another one there, I wanted another one there, and then I wanted there, and maybe for here I'll add another one there. Okay, so now I've got all these little quick pieces here, right? So now what I can do, because I froze my subdivision level, is unfreeze them. And what ZBrush is going to do is give me back my model, okay? And now I've got these, and then there's a projection happening as well. So that's why these are kind of sucking in a little bit, because there's a projection happening. But I got back my model now with the subdivision levels. If you didn't want to do that, all I would need to do is, before I unfreeze, right, just, okay, the head and the ears need to be one, so now I split this over here in my subtools. I tell it to split my hidden, right, and then now I've got this, right, and then I've got this, and then now I unfreeze, and then there's those divisions back. And because I've split, right, this also has a frozen subdivision level. And if I click that, it'll give me this, right? And then, or I can say, I don't need this at all, right? And I've got this ability here to split things off. So this is pretty much what I did, okay, to start now blocking out the head. So let's turn that one off. And now let's look at this. Let's turn off my other spikes here. Okay, and then now my next step here is the size of my spikes are going to be important for when I'm trying to wrap around the quality, okay, to go through there. Okay, go ahead and ask your question about projecting. If you want to add or remove masks using brushes like standard, can we do it with clean edges and clean topology? I'm not Jupiter, I'm not following the question, because standard's just a sculpting brush. So it's just sculpting on top of the existing surface or pushing in an existing surface. It's not, as far as adding a clean edge, do you mean like adding a sharp clean edge? Because the sculpting brushes aren't going to change your topology unless you get into what I'm about to get into right now, which is Sculptress Pro. Sad, I'm not following your question exactly. Why you use project Dynamesh model and lower million polygons level? It's broken and oh, it's not broken. Okay, I understand your question now. Okay, so there's a new, a couple versions ago, we took kind of what we did with the Zremesher 3.0 and kind of put that idea also in Dynamesh now. We did it specifically. So here, let me grab something. So this is definitely, we're going on a tangent, people. But I think this is also very important. Lisa needs braces moment for you all, right? To take this all in. Okay, so let's just take a cube, right? Because it's going to be really easy to visually for you guys to understand this. Let's just Dynamesh it normal. Okay, so this is what we get. So this is 3.0. You can see it's very nice, clean topology, right? But you can see it's 98,000 polygons right now at 128, a resolution of 128, right? So we've got, though, a very clean cube. So let's just snapshot this, and then let's snapshot the polygon count. Okay, so we got 98,000. Remember that as being 98,000, all right? I'm going to undo this and put my cube back to this, and I'm going to turn on project. Now let's do that same thing. I'm going to turn the blur off as well. Now let's do a Dynamesh. Okay? And you can see you're getting even more, right? And you can see there is different topology happening here. Okay? Now watch this. Let's take this scenario now. Okay? And let's drop this resolution. Let's drop it all the way down to something like 32. Okay? And Dynamesh that. So now this is what we get at 32, right? And you can see we're kind of starting to lose the cube a little bit, all right? And then now let me undo that. Let's do the projection part at this at 32 and Dynamesh that. And you can see you get this kind of topology. And you can see there are more triangulation happening along the sharp edges, okay? But if we look how much more, like you can't tell that that's a Dynamesh cube now. Like that's really close to the original cube, right? And the Dynamesh that was set at 128, it's very similar, right? So this is 32 without the project, and then this is with the project, okay? And what's controlling that now is this subprojecting brush. So if you want to affect that, then that's the slider you want to go change, okay? So by changing that algorithm, you can do different things, right? So if I start going up, right, subprojecting that, you can see it gets more crazy. And if I start just dropping this down, in essence, you're kind of turning off the subproject. And see, now it's getting back to normal Dynameshing, right? So if we put this at 32 with the project, I don't work with project in Dynamesh because I don't need it for me personally. So that's all that's happening too. So a great question. Oh, I just killed my for you all. There you go. Okay. So there you have it. All right. So let's take that snapshot again. Beep 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 beep. Because I liked having that. I liked having that snapshot in there. So this head off. This head off. Turn that off, and we'll keep them raw there. Snapshot that. There you go. Okay, so going back to where we're at now, since we've answered that question for you all. Now my next stage is, because I'm worrying about wrinkles now, I'm worried about getting details in the head like I have here. Now I want to start this process again. Okay, so I've laid out these spikes. So I'm going to go really quickly start adjusting these spikes. So right now you can see all the poly grouping, and you can see the spheres all the same poly group. I don't want that. I want to kind of spice that up a little bit. Okay. So, and then what I mean by spicing is I'm going to auto group this because I want every single spike to have their own poly group. It just helps me set things up for down the road. It's easy ways for me to do now things like this. I can switch to my gizmo, right? Hold the control key and I can tap, and every single other spike is automatically masked off, right? But this yellow one. And so now I can just adjust this and make this one be a little bit different. Maybe I want it to sit there instead. And I can just quickly now make some very fast adjustments. And this is exactly what I did for my Gremlin. These need to be a little bit different, right, than the other side. I can't have them be identical. It'll look too CG and it won't look realistic. So this is the process that I start to do, right? And you can see it's not really a long process for me. Okay, and oh, you know what? I want more. So this makes it easy for me to go around. And if I want to just change that poly group, I can do that. And then Control W. And then now this one, right? It's got its own poly group again. And say, yeah, I want to come around the head. And I wanted some more spikes down here. Right, and I'm just using my gizmo real quick to change orientation, change where it sits. Okay, and then now I'm going to put another one right here. And then it's easy for me to do this, the duplications, right? And then make them new polygroups, right? So that's the process, right? So you can see now that one side is starting to look different, obviously. The right side's looking better than the left side. Okay, so the next stage for me, and why I said you guys can either use that curve brush or you can use straight up spheres. Because what I wanted to do, you know, I didn't want my spikes to be this high necessarily. I wanted some of them to have a little bit of height. I wanted some of them to be a little bit tiny, and I wanted some variation. So the next thing for me that was important was switching to like a brush. It doesn't matter really which one, okay? And I want to turn on Sculptures Pro. So for me, I'm going to switch to Snake Hook, okay? And looking at this model here, right? They're all really low, so all the spikes now are only 19,000 polygons. So if we look at it, right? Even the ones I grew out that were tubes were just like a cylinder that's being repeated along the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn Snake Hook. I'm going to turn on this Sculptures Pro feature, and this is going to allow me to start saying, okay, I'm going to pull on this a little bit, and then now I can quickly just change the shape real fast, right? And I can start moving this around and having a change of shape, and then you can see what's happening is I'm having dynamic tessellation. And what I found very useful is I could do this, but then see kind of just slowly and say, okay, more, you know, now let's put a little bit more spike in this one, like that, right? And then now that one looks like that, right? And it starts giving a little more realistic look to my spikes. And then if I want to make it smaller, Sculptures Pro is such a quick way for me to kind of make things smaller and add a little bit maybe more of a spike and then bring that spike down. So this is my process, right? For me, for these spikes. This is how I did those because I needed them to be different size, and then I needed them to look a little bit more natural and not be so perfect, cylindrical, like yeah, like that. And then let me just make a little bit more of a point to it. And then obviously I can go with a smaller brush size and then do stuff like that. So the reason why I'm saying you can either do a sphere or what we're doing, because then now that I have this ability, it's easier for me to just pull from a sphere and turn these into spikes. Right? So I'm doing a combination now of, okay, I've got the ability to spike this up quickly and change on the fly the topology and get like, I don't like that at all. Right? And then say, oh, I want this one to be pretty small. And then just, yeah, that's good. Something like that. And then this one, maybe a little bit smaller, but have a little bit more of a spiked head to it. Right? And the smaller brush size I go, okay, the more tessellation is going to happen, and i.e. the more topology you're going to get. So you can see the difference between these and those. Okay, and then you can see those. So now that I'm a smaller brush size, you can even see the topology. So the benefit to that is I can maintain a more of a spike look if I want with a smaller brush size. And then now I'm just smoothing with this, right? So this is my next stage before I start worrying about wrinkles, because where these sit on the model is important to me, okay? And then I start looking at my views because I don't want to get too crazy. Looking at my reference, I don't like where these are sitting. I want these to sit in a different spot. Okay, so then I'm going to do a little masking lasso. I'm going to hold the Alt key. So then the only thing that's unmasked is this. So I want a little too much with that, right? And then those are now unmasked. And then so now I can just quickly move these forward a little bit because I want them to come forward and down and forward a little bit more and down. I want them to live a little bit closer to the first spikes. Okay, and then there you go. And now I've got, so see this one's starting to give me a little bit what I have in my model now, right? And I'm just continuing this workflow. That's it. This is all, it's not anything crazy rocket science, but it's really fast. And I tell you, it's a great way to make that. They look, for me, it looks pretty realistic. It looks like great little quick ways to make spikes. Think about this for horns too. It'd be a great way to make horns this way. And I don't like, that one's a little too sharpy for me. I want something a little more. And then I'm gonna go smaller in here on the chin, and then smaller in here, or something like that. Okay, and I can't help myself. I gotta keep doing this. Right, so I found this very fast, very efficient. That's just as important as making something look cool. You want to be able to be as fast as you can as well, because you just want to get into sculpting also, and you're gonna, you know, this is a big project for me because I'm trying to put also crazy skin detailing in this. So this all goes back to, you know, previous streams of this guy. I'm talking about bony landmarks. These are in essence part of his skeleton, right? These are bony landmarks. So it's very relevant what these look like, okay? Because they need to be relevant, right, to his skeleton. And I'm going to go with a smaller brush size for this. And let's say this. Give this one a little more volume in there, and then spike that one up. Spike this one up. Oh, I like that. Yeah, there you go. Let me bring it down a little bit. Let me add some volume into this one. Right, just quickly moving around. This is also why I really like right-click navigation. I can just move around the model, and you can see my efficiency with that as well. So really great way of working. This is why I'm saying you all should join the right-click army, because I'm telling you, it'll make your sculpting faster. I guarantee it. Because just this alone, being able to just rotate around these spikes real fast, is making my life so much better. Okay, there you go. Okay, so now I start to lay those foundations. My next thing now is starting to put in some skin detail and making it look like these are actually, you know, puncturing through skin. The calendar update BT Sculptor will be coming probably next week, hopefully Monday. So we already have the ZBrush Master stuff in there. Okay. So if I was to remesh these West 3D, they're not going to really lose that much volume. All that is, if you don't want to lose volume, that's just setting. If I'm going to go remesh this now, right, and I come down here to remesh, if I just stick even just with the defaults and I remesh this, just see what the default gives you. Right, if you don't want to lose volume, then all that is a density slider. You just have to up your target count, right? So there you go. That's pretty low, and you see it's not really losing. They're not really losing their volume. That's like good enough. So this is what they were. This is what they are. There's really not enough change there to warrant me playing, right? But if you did want to play, then this is where you just up your target polygon count. So if you wanted to have more polygons at level 1. This is all I would do. It's just setting your target target polygon count higher, because now you're going to allow it to have more polygons. So see, now I got an extra like 4,000 polygons. That's it. That's all you got to do. So if you want to maintain your polygrouping, you can by turning on the keep groups, and then ZBrush in essence is remeshing each spike, right? And considering the polygrouping on each spike, and since each one's got its own polygroup, I can maintain that as well. Right? So really easy. Easy peasy. Nothing crazy here. Okay? Now, going back to my head, now I want to start putting all the details and stuff that I started to do. So this is me now. I'm going to start, okay, not being in Sculptress mode. I will stay symmetrical right now. So let's turn on the eye. So we have that. Let's turn on the gums. Let's ungroup this. Let's see. We don't want those spikes. We don't want that head. Okay? Because I need the eyes as a reference, right? So you can see the eyes are out further. So I need to start creating some flow there to help support that. Okay, so now, yeah, I'm going to print this and put it in Joseph's garden. Now maybe I'll print it and send one to Joseph. I would like to print this, but I want to CNC this, not 3D print it. Okay, so now I'm going to start going, okay, let me start really blocking in and looking at the references I have, i.e. images. I've got a physical model of a copy of a gremlin here that I can look at. So I'm going to say, all right, let's start using, my favorite brush is starting to use the clay buildup. And you gotta, this is like, we're not really high in polygon count. This is a tough thing sculpturally that you gotta make sure you don't get trapped in a corner, right? This isn't going to be, this part right now is not going to be amazing looking because I don't have enough polygons here to make it look amazing looking. What I'm trying to do right now is just start blocking in some forms now to just kind of make it look like these guys are breaking through the skin in essence, right? So I really like the clay buildup to do this because it can be a quick way to make it build up. And by me still having the subtool of the actual spikes on, ZBrush is not actually allowing me to sculpt where the spikes are. Okay, so if I turn off, I go to solo mode, you can see right in here, it's not really, especially you can see right here, there's no sculpting happening. Okay, so I start to do this, and I always pull away and start seeing how that's going to start looking, right? And then you got to make sure, right, just like that, it's easy to make an eye, make it look like it's sitting in a socket. And then this is Alt key, adding just like that, the eye starts looking like it's sitting in a socket. And the benefit to that is my eye is there, so ZBrush is not allowing me to sculpt where the eyeball is. There is ways to do that, which I'm going to show you. Okay? Okay? This guy here. Oh, I got here, so maybe it's been said, but did you know that the salad bar gremlin in Gremlins 2 has almost completely made from vegetables? Yup. Yeah, I'm going to go probably Gremlins 2 route for me for this. Make him probably, I don't know, I haven't decided what I'm going to put him be. You know, people make fun of Gremlins 2, I think, because of that craziness and wonkiness that happened, but I kind of liked that about Gremlins 2. It was a fun part about Gremlins 2, I think, is having those different types of gremlins. So you can see here, as I'm sculpting, you can see the mesh is actually stopping a little bit at. So this is a great way for me to kind of start adding more volume here. And I will stay symmetrical for main parts here still. Okay, but there's going to be a point here where I am 100% going to come out of symmetry. Because that needs to start happening, and where I need to start really paying attention to what's happening with my model. Okay, but right now I'm just getting some bulkness, and I'm switching between some brushes in here, just changing up some bulk. So I'm going to now, I would continue this process, right, that we're doing here through the entire model. So I want to give him a lip here as well. Okay, and this needs to meet here. Okay, looking through there. And then this needs to meet here. Give that a little bit of volume there. And now you can see how much more, just a couple things like that, he starts popping. Okay? So the mesh is avoiding the spikes because the spikes are on. Okay? Because I have the spikes on. It's not going, these brushes are not going to allow me to sculpt through the spike in essence. Okay? So if we turn the spikes off, right, you can clearly see there's little pockets. Right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and keep going through the whole model with you guys. That'll just be boring. But then, I start... And what I like about the clay buildup, especially for organic, I kind of want that little bit of roughness in there. I keep it. I don't sit here and go down and smooth all this out perfectly. I'll do a little bit of a light smooth because I want to kind of keep this. And I know right now I'm sitting pretty low in polygon count. So when I divide up, those are actually going to be a little bit smoothed anyways. Right? So now let's say I divide up one more time. Whoops. Right? So I go up another level. And you can see that kind of gets pushed back already. And you can see this gets smooth and pushed back a little bit. And it's really looking like the spikes are pushing through the skin right now. That's kind of what I like, right? And you can see now this, it's got a little bit of some skinning happening there right out the gate. And this was just because I didn't smooth back the strokes I was making for this. So now I start saying, okay, this is where, I start breaking away for some symmetry. And I start having asymmetry differences. And because that's going to be more realistic. Right? There's a point where you got to break away from symmetry. Okay? And go for it. And just have confidence in yourself and going through this. And then the two major brushes I'm going to use from these main blocking outs is the clay buildup. And now I'm using the Damien standard brush to go through this. And now I'm just putting some very quick, just some skin detail happening through here. And I need to break the silhouette of this, right? It's too perfect. And again, that's all about the realism. And when you want to make something look a little more real, you're going to have to break the silhouetting a little bit, right? And again, I'm not going to push this back. I'm not smoothing a lot when I'm doing these like main wrinkling of my skin. I don't want to push back, right? Because now I'm going to come in here too and I can say Alt key, really sell that ridge there. Alt key, sell that ridge maybe. I don't like that. Let's go. Like sell that ridge. And that ridge is now really being sold a little bit more. Is that ridge too much, right? So that ridge should probably sit more closer to the eye. Something more like that, I would say. So then see, that immediately gives a nice wrinkle. And then I would come in here and start, okay, let me just start adding another set of wrinkles through here. And I'm very light with my brush. I'm following anatomy in the sense, okay, if this guy's going to be doing this, right, he's going to get, when he goes, he's kind of his mouth's open and smiling. So just like us, when I'm moving mine, right, you're going to get wrinkles right in here, right? So that's where things should be going, where I'm starting to get the wrinkles. And then my eye should have some wrinkles, okay? So in essence, I'm going through this process through the entire model, right? I don't divide up yet, okay? I know I'm not going to get perfection right now, and you gotta warrant that. So I think the best thing you guys need to do is what I started the stream is. How close are you going to allow us to get to this guy, number one? Number two is pull back. Stop being like, I'm in it, yes! This is going to be the greatest bulging piece ever, yes! Right? You got to pull back, and if you look, that's actually looking pretty nice, even though up close, it's looking very pixelated. But from a distance, that's selling. So you got to be careful when you guys are going about all this as well, is when you're up close and seeing it really pixelated, you got to pull back. It's just like just normal sculpting, having a Luxo lamp. You know, the artists are not doing that because, hey, everybody should sculpt with a Luxo lamp because it's cool. They're sculpting with a Luxo lamp because it's beneficial to be moving that light around to catch volume changes and catch things maybe you want to maybe accent, like this right here. I want to accent this, and then now, yeah, let me bulk this one up, and then maybe this has got a little bit of a skin pulling difference happening through here. And then now it always start, I got to start from some kind of point and fan out. Fan out. Right? And then, again, I'm not going to push this back a lot, because again, pull away, and you can see it's looking like that skin is being pulled. Okay, I'm going to push this back a little bit, because I don't want it to be that predominant. I just want to be kind of right now subtle at this level, like that. Right? And that subtlety, I'm going to accent that a little bit more as I continue to go along. Right? Oh man, we got to do it. No, it's not raining there. That's my air conditioner. You guys can hear that? Because half the time you guys don't hear my air conditioner, and half the time you hear my air conditioner. Is it really that distracting? Because I'd like to not sweat myself to death in my office today. Is it alright? Is it not that distracting going on? Right, again, everybody, I'm looking at references when I'm also doing this, guys. I'm looking at the images I have here, and again, I've got a physical gremlin head here, copy kind of a thing that I'm looking at, and this is awesome because I can look at it from other angles. I've got a rim light over here, right? So I actually can hold it in that light, and I can look at things, and this is how I start seeing how deep do I really need to go, right? Do I need a little more bulkiness in here? I do. Okay, looking at that, so this plays a role. So I need to have a little bit more bulk. The thing you got to remember right now is I am not symmetrical. So the best thing to do, people, when you're not working symmetry anymore, is when you're going to make a change like this on the other one, go right to the other side immediately. That way you don't miss out on this, and then you're using the same technique that you were using when you made that one, right? I highly, highly recommend when you break symmetry to make sure you're doing this, switching to the sides, right? And then see, this is going to be a nice subtle wrinkling that's happening. These are nice, just subtle skin movement happening with him now, right? That's why I'm doing this right here. I want just some subtle stuff happening through here. It's really nice, okay? And then I'm hitting with a Damien Standard. I literally am only using, for this entire thing, Damien Standard, okay, and the clay buildup brush. That is my two go-to brushes for me. Every artist is different. There's going to be a part where I'll bring in another brush, okay, and I'm going to show you guys some more detailing skin here in a little bit, and maybe another brush you might want to start using. Okay, you can see that's to me that's looking nice. It's looking very nice. I'm getting some subtlety. Guys, sculpting is sculpting. You got to put the effort in sometimes, right? I really watch some of the masters of sculpting over the years of, people like the Rick Bakers, the Steve Wangs, the Brian Wades, the Paul Komodos, like the list goes on and on. The amazing artists that in essence, like Chris Wallace, who sculpted the original Gremlins as well, right? How he sculpted the original Gremlins. He was doing it all in clay, right? There are cheats you can 100% do in clay, like using a sponge to put in skin pores. But they, time and time again, I watch them. They are just straight up, I'm going to do stuff by hand. And like, look, that's nice right there. That's just a quick hand subtlety. I find this brush to really make some nice skin pulling. The Damien Standard, I just quickly, again, I'll just throw a little notch in there and just keep going down the line here and throwing a notch, and then just slightly tap. But when you pull away, that's nice, nice, right? And you got to make some of them a little bit longer, and that'll look like look up close. This looks like, right? But when you pull away, and then you push that back, the little smoothing. that really starts to sell. And I like this one for me is really an experiment, this Gremlin. My goal for this guy is to really try and take as much detailing as I can and really make sure you guys are really understanding all the crazy details that's going into him. I don't want to sell myself short. So this is, I'm using this sculpt kind of even as a pushing for me. Okay? So then this is where I'm like, okay, now I'll go up another level. So again, I'm doing this across the whole model. Then I go up a level. And then now this is where some of these details, well, I really want maybe certain things popping. And I can really sell, right, where this is sinking in. Now, there's going to be times where you guys want to be able to maybe sculpt across through the spikes. So if you guys still want to see the spikes, all you do is you turn on transparency. Okay, and right now I've got ghost transparency on, so you can turn either one, it doesn't really matter. Okay, and then now you can sculpt. So see, now I can build up, and you can see this is actually sculpting inside the model. Why I might do this? This will actually help in this case. If I turn off transparency, you can see that bulge now is a little bit, there's more topology there for me to come back now and hit it with the Damien standard. Okay, and start just really selling that this is being pushed in. So I'm throwing my transparency on again and kind of sell that push, and maybe even switch back to clay buildup, right, and sell this. If you guys want to, you can switch to solo mode, right, and say, okay, let me really start selling that this one being pushed through the surface a little bit more, right, and then throw your solo back on, turn off transparency, and then there you go. So now I'm going to do this type of treatment that I'm doing with these two spikes across all spikes, right? And now I'm going to come in here, and again, look how low density, right? See, I'm only sitting at 2.9 million now. I'm not really high, but sculpturally, we are getting some very interesting skin pulling. We're getting it really looks like that skin is being pushed through by the spikes. And now I can start adding a little bit more skin wrinkling through here. Right, I'm gonna accent this eye a little bit more. I want to make sure this is being sold here. Right, so I'm gonna hit this again with some more. And I've found, especially for something like a Gremlin, I don't stay straight like that all the time. I like to just kind of wrinkle it up. Okay, and if I want to start now putting, again, pull back, and you can see that's starting to sell a little bit more. You gotta stop just staying focused. You know, staying focused up real close. You gotta pull back a little bit. And I'm just making some very, right, I'm making kind of like X's in here and Y's. This is an old Brian Wade, my man Brian Wade, if you're watching. Thanks for this little trick and tip that you shared with me for skin. He's an amazing sculptor that worked in the 80s and still sculpts to this day in clay. To do his wrinkles, he really looks at trying to make like X's and Y's, but they're kind of elongated X's, right? So kind of just, not like a perfect X like that, but kind of like that. And then now this should come across like this, and then maybe make a Y here now instead. And when you start pulling away, you can see those skin wrinkles start to really pop. Okay, and I'm kind of try and do a little bit more. I can hear, okay. Oh, I kind of like what's naturally happening right there. That's kind of pretty cool. And then I'm gonna come across that on that. Yeah, I'm liking that. Okay, I'm gonna put another little, looking at mine, I want to put another little lip of skin right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say, let's mask that out. So I'm gonna mask pen that. Sorry, I just hit the microphone. Sorry for the noise. Okay, so I'm going to say, not this brush. I want just masking pen. Okay, let me delete this curve. Okay, so I'm going to say I want a little bit of a skin pouch coming right through here. And then it's going to get wide and then taper. So I'm going to go with the wide. Let me just mask off something real quick. And then now let me start tapering that. And then it's going to taper back down this way, let's say. So now I'll inverse that, right? Okay, do that. And then now I say brush, clay buildup. And just start looking at the edge of where that mask is. If you want, turn off your masking, which is Control H, right? And then this is going to give me a very nice way of adding some, like you pull back, this is going to look really wrinkled. See? That's a deep wrinkle there that I'm adding there now on top of that. I'm going to clear my mask. And you know what? I want this to be a little bit bulkier. I want a little bit more volume through there. And do something like that, right? So masking is going to be a great way for you to kind of push also certain seams. And now this, I'm going to sell this a little bit more and just slightly do that. And then this is going this direction. So then there should be, oops. There should be, switching to Damien Standard, there should be some kind of pull happening also through here. So the pull's not just in one direction for this part. Right? You can see all that's going to start to work. It's not as good as the one I did on my guy, but you guys are getting the workflow. So this is all I'm doing. This is it. This is what I've done to bring my guy, my little Zed, that we're calling him now, right, to where he's at. Okay, I'm just coming through here and I'm adding elements. I'm seeing things. This is why I don't push back everything, especially organically, because it'll help me spot things that I kind of like what's going on. It's breaking up the model for me, which I like, right? Really maybe accenting some more. And then when you get more polygons, you're able to, you know, kind of put a little bit more of wrinkling coming through. Again, see like that? Oh, that's beautiful right there. And it's just a little quick, me just moving my hand fast. I'm not staying perfectly straight, right? I really like doing this. It really makes really cool skin kind of pulling look, where I'm just not staying straight, and then adding a couple other little dabs. And that really starts to sell that part of the face, right? I'm going to start putting in some skin pouring through here. Okay, going on. Okay, I definitely want to accent that a little bit more through here. Alt key it, and then now push it back. Let me accent that, and then say a wrinkle is going to go this way, and then I'm going to make a pinching skin there. Comes around. And then now this one's going to be maybe a little bit bigger. And I'm going to push this one back so it's not so predominant. And just continue. Ooh, I like this right in here. Right, it's the same approach now if we look at also the body. Right, and you can see where I'm at right now with him. So this is, okay, this is where I'm going. What up, No Plastic? Welcome back. Okay, let me hold on. When you're saying, hi Paul, how would you unify all subtools at the same time? When I unify one part followed by other, they all end up differently unified scale. Okay, if you're trying to unify everything as one unit, honestly, the best way to do that, the easiest way for you to do that, so you're unifying it because you want them all to be unified within the ZBrush, but you got to remember too, you could also just throw your gizmo on, right? So if I say I select the body, right, and then I center this to here, right, and you turn this on, every subtool is going to move as a unit, right? So you could scale down this way if you wanted to, as an example. But the other way that you could do, instead of doing it like that, you can use Transpose Master, right? Come in here, hit T-Pose Mesh. The ZBrush is going to make another version, right? And everything's going to be merged together and welded, well, I'm sorry, not welded, just merged together. Now just hit unify, and then that's it, and then just hit T pose to sub T, and then ZBrush is going to put everything else. Because if you're unifying each subtool individually, then we're unifying each one individually, right? And what unify does is it resizes so everything fits in this preview window. So you see that the body's kind of fitting in the preview window right now, okay? And see that the eyeballs are way up at the top, and see the mouth, and see some of the things are, right? So what Unify does is puts the mesh to fit perfectly within this little window and move it to the center. So if you're doing individually, you're unifying each subtool then to do that. So the best thing to do is either do the gizmo approach or do the subtool master approach. Okay, if you wanted to add a mustache, since Jupiter you asked, I think it'd be funny to give him a mustache. Okay, so let's go back to the head, my second head that I've been working on here with you guys. So this is really easy. You want to give him a stash? You know, maybe we'll have some fun. You know what? That's fun. Maybe you know what I'm gonna do with this guy. I like that you asked that. My head immediately thinks Groucho Marx. I'm gonna make my guy have one of the. I'm gonna do kind of what I think what they did with Wall-E, where they had Wall-E in like different scenes. I'm gonna do like Gremlins too. I'm gonna do a bunch of different. Once I have the Gremlin done, I'm gonna make a bunch of different things for him. I think it'll be funny. I'm gonna make him have like a Groucho Marx look to him, which would be cool. Okay, so I'm just masking, in essence, where I want that mustache to show up. Okay, let's say this, and let's give him a goatee. Oh, that'd be fun. Okay, so let's give him a little bit of a goatee here. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so now that I have the mask, I'm even going to blur it a little bit. Okay, because what I'm about to do, you know what, let me first, I want that mask, this to come a little bit lower. Something more like along that line. Oh, this is going to be awesome to see. Okay, I'm going to blur it a couple times. So there's a transitional blur happening. Obviously, I drop down a question. Go ahead, Ricardo. If I drop down in subdivision levels, if I drop down a couple subdivision levels and blur, the blur gets bigger, right? Okay, so you can see I got a softer blur now. And then now all I would do is go here to Fiber Mesh and click Preview and bingo bango. Woo! Crazy mustache. Oh God, I never thought of putting a mustache on a Gremlin. I love it. Okay, so number one, if you guys are going to do this, do not have the double turned on here in display properties. Because if that's on, the fiber meshes are going to be created out, and they're going to be created in the mesh. You only want them created out. Okay? And then obviously this needs tweaking now, so I'm going to go to modifiers. Let's make him like be a ginger. Let's give him like ginger hair. Oh God, I love it. Let's do something like that. There you go. Okay, so right now the fibers are just out of hand. Okay, the number of fibers I have, I think, is way too much. So right here, I'm gonna knock this way down, just to get way less fibers. Okay, something like that. Maybe a little bit more than that. I think the length is a little too much. That's not the length I'm going for. So I'll drop that down some. Okay, and now maybe I'll put a little bit more fibers in it. Right? There's a twisting happening right now. So I'm going to do less of that twist. So I'm going to put it at like 2. Okay, and right now the fibers there aren't a lot of divisions to them. So right here in my segments, I'm going to up the segments to say maybe something more like 8, and you can see it'll sit better now and lay more like a stash. And then there you go. There's a mustache for him, and you can see what it's doing now. Right, and if I wanted to be more like a stub, then I would pull back the length a lot more. Right? Maybe something like that. And then the gravity, I'd probably do a lot less gravity. And then the hair's popping off him more, because then there's less gravity happening, right? So if you look profile-wise, see it's coming off him more. So I don't want as much gravity. I'm going to hide the mask so you guys can see what's going on here. Right? It's just whatever you're going to do. So however the model is to the camera is how the mesh is going to. So whenever if you're like this, no matter what slider you click, see now it looks like he's in the wind, like there's wind this way. So if we go this way, now it's back to doing this. There, it's that simple. And then you come down here and you say accept, and you say, hey, you want me to put yourself in fast preview? I'm going to say, yeah, always be in fast preview. And then now that is a subtool. Okay? We can make lumberjack Gremlin now. Okay? So there you go. So, but now another way to do this, which I think is one of the cooler ways to do this, and it's a really fast way, okay, to do this, and I think it's just it's dang and it's cool. Okay, so this is definitely look up here, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Along with Lisa needs braces, right? So this is important. This is kind of a step by step by step by step by step. Okay. So what I'm going to do is step number 1. Where I'm at is fine. I'm going to say Morph Target, and I'm going to store Morph Target. Okay? Then I'm just going to use only pretty much the clay buildup, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to give him a like stash and a beard. So just start working on this. Let me reset my brushes. I don't like what's going on with that. No, I don't want to go that high. That'll be a little crazy. Let's go lower. Yeah. And just keep going down. Okay, and the volume I'm going to add is going to play a role for me. Let me clear the mask. So it's just a quick, and yeah, I'm ruining all my wrinkles, right? Everything we were talking about, I'm ruining it. But that's all right, people. That's okay, and there's a reason why that's okay. I'm just using this brush to kind of control where I want, in essence, I'm sculpturally, right, doing this. So this would be something, you know, if I'm doing a 3D print, I would need to sculpturally put in a beard. Right, and this starts to, and I change my brush size. I'm not going to sit here and do perfection for us, because this, you guys will be watching me do this for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, and I want to move on to my next phase of showing you detailing. Okay, so I'm doing this, blah 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 blah, blah 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 blah. Let's really make him have some kind of crazy change goatee thing here. Yeah, add some real big volume there. Right, so you can see this is really starts to quickly even start to look like a little bit like hair sculpturally, right? And then you can throw, and if you want it, you throw a little the Damien standard, so it starts, you know, blocking it up a little bit more. Okay, you guys get the idea. So you're just blocking out some things. Now, what's really cool is I stored a morph target, right? So like I said, I didn't care that I'm ruining my mesh, because I can switch and get back the sculpt where I was at. Now the cool thing here is ZBrush has the version here with all the wrinkles, and then it's also, remember, the version where I just did this real quick bearding thing happening. Now what's awesome is if you go to Fiber Mesh now, okay, and you hit preview, right, I'm getting fibers everywhere on the head. Okay, so because I've got no mask, I got nothing. But look at me, look at me, look at me. This is the most important part here. What I'm now going to tell ZBrush to do is give me fibers based upon where I sculpted. So you can see the fibers now are only happening where I sculpted. So let me give myself some more fibers. And you can see I can easily start doing things like this, right? And I don't need as many segments for a beard like this. I think probably 5 segments is enough. And then there you go. Oh god, this is why I'm excited to get this Gremlin done, because I just want to have some fun like this with him. I think it's just fun to mess with the Gremlin. It's just good times. Oh boy, God bless it, I love it. Okay, so there you go. This is an awesome trick, man. It's a great way, and it's more natural, right? It immediately, and you can see the fibers are longer here, and then not as long here, because where I added more sculpt volume is where the fibers, then the length is going to be controlled by. So you can see the stubbiness here, and if I don't like this, what's being generated, I turn this off, and I go, you know what? I don't like what's happening up there. It's too stub. I switch it, and then now maybe I switch back to the clay, and I go, you know what? I want to have more of a beard, like mustache through here. I want this to be a little, and I want this to go all the way up into his nose. Right? Obviously, I would be taking a reference of somebody that has a mustache, and really, so I grew up with a father who always had a mustache. In fact, I remember one time he shaved his mustache off, and I was young. I was like, "Whoa!" Same thing happened, funny enough, with my daughter when she was younger too. I was growing out a pretty hefty beard, and then I shaved, and she like didn't recognize me at first. My dogs did the same thing when wearing a mask, right? So this is now really bulked up a lot, right? So this is now, there's going to be a crazier beard in there now. So we do this, go back to my fiber mesh, throw on the preview, right? And see now there's more volume to the beard there. That mustachy part's got more there, in essence. Right? And then the coverage, I can make it be a wider beard. So see, the coverage is going to change the width. So maybe I want, you know, it's a Gremlin, man. It's maybe his hair is going to be a little bit more thicker, right? And then there you have it. So, Gundam! There you go. And then you can render that out, and then your rendering is going to look different. And there you go. There's what it looks like. It'll start looking like rendered out at this point. Oh, it's so good. We can make a Bob Ross version Gremlin. This is what goes in my head right now. Bob Ross. So Jimmy, to your question, that double button for you're talking about the Zremesher, you know, this is a big pet peeve of mine. I don't really use that. It's not meant to keep clicking over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm not sure if you're talking about that, or are you talking about the double in display? So if you're talking a custom UI, it's probably because those two doubles are getting lost. ZBrush is your UI. You can see here it's got a path down here. So when you hold down Control, there's a path. So I need to make my document darker now. Right? So in here you can see path, tool, display properties, double. So that might be it. Ross, I like it. Okay, and then yes, there is a gradient, and I can even paint after the fact, people. You guys can, like, if I really like this fibers, okay, wow, we are like in a tangent that, dare I say, is an inception tangent happening right now. Okay, so when you guys accept this, right, so when I say accept, the good thing that we're doing here, this is tagged as fibers, right? So if we're just looking at only this, these are fibers now. Okay, so even though that I have these, they've got a polygroup to them. They're taking on the polygroup from the model. But I can even say, you know what? I want to change up the fibers. Number one, maybe I want to add a texture. So I can go to here, UV map, and I can say fiber UVs. Now they have a UV, and I can come here to texture map, and I can say, let's throw a texture on it, right? And then this is going to say, well, I want texturing to go on this, right? So I can start adding textures. So this is saying I have to turn on fast preview mode. So now in Fiber Mesh, there are, in essence, render settings here, and then there's preview settings. So if I turn this off, look, this is taking on a texture of the star. And you can see the pure black is becoming transparent, so you guys could do like even different looking fibers. So here, if I put on, say, like this, you can clearly see every fiber is getting that circular pattern, right? So you can throw a texture on it if you want to, this way, or, okay, just deleting the UVs. In masking, there is mask by fibers, okay, and I can mask fiber, and then I can do something here. Let's go crazy red, right? And then let's take the paintbrush, and let's do a color fill object, and then now let's select back another color. Let's do like a blue. Okay, and then now I can paint, and you can see the tips are getting a blue. This is very subtle because I'm masking off based upon my control setting over here. So there's even all those things down the road. Okay, so there you go. There's an example of me doing that, right? So even after the fact, your fiber meshes can be adjusted, i.e. coloring, right? You can adjust it. It is now officially polygons, so you can also play with those polygons as well and adjust those polygons for you. Okay, so I want to move on because we're running out of time here, and I want to move on to where my next staging is. So I'm showing you guys all the wrinkling and things that I'm doing. So I see a question coming through, is polishing organic forms and before placing your wrinkles. I'll show you a feature that is really nice for that. Let me hold on. I clicked on something. Close it. I don't want it. And now I've caused problems for myself. I accidentally clicked on some things. Hold on. Let me kill this. Because I started clicking like a madman. Very much. I killed that. We'll go to just where I was with a quick save. That one's good. Okay, now to your question, polishing organics before you start putting in all the details. Okay. Let me load this guy. You know what? Let me also load. I'm gonna load my Gremlin now, where I'm at currently with my Gremlin. Un momento, please. You're gonna see a change big time. Boom, there you go. Okay. Let's say this. I don't like a really dark document. There, that's good. Okay. So, organic forms and shapes, one thing that you can do that would be a good feature to play with for polishing and organically, okay, is the clay polish. That's a great feature. So right here, you can, in essence, let's just click it once. And what this does is evaluates the surface, and you can see, like, look at that right in there. Like, this looks a little bit more, that looks a little bit better, right? Then this is what I had, right? This is what I had. And then this is what I have. What I had, what I have. Like, look at that peak right there, and that peak right there. Okay, what I used to have, what I have. And this is actually applying a mask, see, at the peaks, right? So what it's doing is it's applying a mask at the peak points and then smoothing, right? So you can see, and then you can clear your mask and then do it again, right? Clear your mask, do it again, right? So this is a great way to polish stuff off and have a nice polish, and then maybe just, it'll create, you know, there's a nice little indentation that's natural. Like, you can see these wrinkles, they got a higher peak now to them. So you could do something like that. I like what's happening in the belly with this, right? So of course this will respect masking. So if we undo all this, back to the original like that, you could obviously just mask this off in here, right? And then inverse your mask. I'm going to blur it a little bit and then polish, right? And now only that part gets polished. And then you have sliders here. You can add how much sharpness do you want, and then this is where it's a lot of fun. You can add some edge deflation and inflation. So I can say this is, watch this. I'm going to say let's add some surface. Let me see. Let's just put it at 20 and polish that. What that's going to do is inflate, see the surface. See that? Everything's inflated. So what might be nice here is, you know, let me throw an inflation of 1, and then let me kick the edges a -1 inward, and let's see what we get. So I'm going to get a little subtle inflate, and then these are getting, so look at that. It created a nice little overlapping there. Like that right there is very nice. Right? So that is very cool. Right? So what's happening with these, there's an inflation happening either on the edges or not on the edges, right? So if I cranked this up and did a clay polish, you can see every edge now that's a sharp edge. You'll see it gets a little inflated. So it's a great way for hard surface even to try and look like something that's welded. So you see all the edges now are doing that. But I can do the opposite, right? I can say negative inward and clay polish. So now there's a slight inflation on the surface that's being polished and a very sharp negative indentation there, right? And I clear my mask, and then now maybe I can just hit it with even just a regular polish just to smooth it out a little bit. And then there, and then look at that. Look at that wrinkle. Oh man, very nice. Like look at that. That's nice right in there. And you can see even my rim light is catching that nicely right there. Right? And then you can see those wrinkles got a little bit more going on. Okay? Okay? The clay polish is respecting the peaks, is what it's looking at. And right? It's looking at those peaks. But that's what all these controllers are, right? Do you want to repeat your sharpness? Do you want some softness? Repeat the softness. Okay, and then you have maximum curvature and the minimum curvature to that. Okay, now, the next stage for me, because we're running out of time, is going to be on the top of his head, as an example. Okay, there's a repeating scale pattern in here, right? So me, right, I'm at the point where, you know, I'm starting to put in some nice detailing. Okay, so I'm just going to walk down a subdivision level. I don't want to be at 50,000 polygons. Even 12,000 might be excessive. So what I want to do is start doing some kind of, let's just say with the Damien standard, I'm looking to make something like this, right? But what I'm not really a fan of the Damien standards is, what's nice about it, it's got a softness to it, right? I want these to kind of more be a dug in ridge more, right? And I'm going to be doing stuff like this. I'm just going to start creating some kind of just by hand, just repeating pattern like this, right? And then just going at it like this, right? And I'm going to start doing other things down the line. In essence, this should be just be something that's quick. So here, these little scale parts that I'm making should be pretty big, right? But when I start getting in tight here, I should start making these a lot smaller. Right, so this is what I mean. This is time consuming, right? So I'm going to show you guys ways that we can obviously just rip this off. And the scales should probably be a little more rectangled through here, I would say. Because it's skinning, right? That's being pulled probably at this part. And you got to make sure you're being very random with it. So it starts, when you pull away, you're getting a little more realism. At any time, you know, you can split up. Okay, so this is the process now I'm going to start going to do and going through my whole model. All right, so there's going to be masking things I'm going to start to do, but number one, I don't even want to use the Damien standard. I prefer using the Chisel Brush. Okay, the reason being is this is VDMing, okay, And these brushes are going to have a little better, like, cutting into the surface. That's more extreme. Okay? And so I say, you know, if I take this one and I do this, you can see, look at the difference in the stroke, right? They're a lot more extreme. I want these to be pretty extreme, actually. Okay, this is a little too soft for me, and this is extreme. So now, the thing we got to understand here is I've got subdivision levels. So I'd probably drop this down a level. Like, see, right now I'm sitting at 12 million, so now this is 3 million. And I'd probably just start blocking this out. So right now, there's a lazy mouse on, and the radius is really high. So I'm going to knock this radius down to something like 10. Okay? And number 2 now, I'm going to store a Morph Target at this level. What this does for me is now, as I'm drawing these out, you can see I am getting a way deeper cut into the surface, number 1. Okay? Again, I'm not worried about the pixelation. You guys got to go that pixelation. But you can see the difference now in the scales, right? Look at how much these are standing out compared to these are standing out. It's only because of the brush. And now what, by saving a Morph Target does for me, is every stroke I make, all the cuts are on the same exact level right now. So what I mean by that is if I did something like this, and now I just want to break this up, I could literally just go across, and you can see, you will not even know that eventually I made these from like one big one, right? Like that, right? And the thing you guys gotta understand is I'm at a lower subdivision level. So when I've done all this, okay, Morph Targets only can be stored on one subdivision level. So right now I have it on this subdivision level, right? So when I walk up, you'll see that there is no more Morph Target here when it gets to 12 million. Okay, so let me give it a minute. Okay, but what also is going to happen is these also now get, see, smoothed. See, there's a smoothing now happening through here because automatically I walked up a level. All right, and then this is where something like you could now start to what I just showed. Here are some techniques that I still, obviously I'm going to start doing this everywhere, right? So I'm going to start adding these little parts. So obviously I don't want this to take me forever like this, right? I want to be able to just maybe add some of these scalings real fast and start working on them. Excuse me. Right? Then this is the easy part, actually, because this is the cool part about organic. You don't have to be perfect. It's organic. It shouldn't be perfection, right? There shouldn't be perfection there. But you got to be making these scales based upon also how the skin's being pulled. And if you look at any referencing, you know, scales are going to get a little smaller where a lot of the skin's being pulled, right? Through here, the scales should get tinier. Okay, and then they should be bigger here, and they should be a little bit, when you get to here, and they should be a lot tinier. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, you know what? I like what's happening here. Okay, so I'm going to walk up a level. Okay, and this is going to put it at the 12 million mark for me. All right, and then let's go ahead and add some more elements to this. So I'm going to mask out this area in here. Right, and we can use what I just even showed. Obviously, you got to think about polygon count. The higher it is, the longer it's going to take to do things. Right, so now that I have this, okay, I can come to this clay polish. Right, and I'm going to say the edges, let's inflate the edges like by 1 and hit clay polish and let it do its thing, let it go through and let it clay polish this. So what I'm doing is I'm claying it up, but you see the edges are getting a little bit of a ridge to them now. It's very subtle, but you gotta kind of see it, see right there. Right, I kind of like what's happening that, right? So now I'm going to say, all right, let's start using this. And you can see the cavity got a little bit more deeper too. That got really nice. I'm going to come now into my masking options. And I'm going to start using masking features here. Okay? So I want to start looking at maybe things like peaks and valleys. And I want to mask by my peaks and my valleys. Right? So you can see what we get here. But what's nice about this is I can play with the ranges. So this is the kind of stuff I like. This random stuff that's happening through here is what I really like. Okay? So I'm going to play with these settings. Let's play with the range a little bit. So let's go ahead and let's play with that peak range. Okay, that's getting good. Let's play with the coverage a little bit. Ah, there we go. Right? So this kind of thing is what I'm looking for. Because now what I want to do, all right, is, and again, I'll probably blur the mask one time. Right? And I'm going to hide my mask with Control H. Now I'm just going to switch to a brush. Again, you could maybe use something like an inflate. And I'm just going to start inflating and smoothing back these parts. So I'm just going to add some quick change to this. So that there's just some volume to this overall being changed up, right? So this is just, a scale shouldn't be 100% perfectly flat for me. And sometimes I'll even use this H polish. Kind of, you know, you can do stuff like this to some of them. Kind of polish it back. Right? And then this is going to create divots. It's going to create a little, and you got to see, especially with this material, how that's going to work. You got to remember, I'm going to paint this too. So all this stuff's going to come into play, right? And then maybe you want to start also coming through with this and even hitting some inflate through here, right? And maybe just some more inflate there and give this a little bit of ridge, right? So obviously this is very time consuming. Okay, but this is old school, man. This is like sculpt, you know, the way that they did in the film, especially when this original Gremlins was made. They would use techniques and by hand sculpt some of this stuff up, right? So being in the world of digital, we can take advantage of digital for us. Okay, and what I want to do is say, okay, I like what I'm doing here with this pattern. So I'm going to make variations of this pattern. And now what I want to do is use ZBrush to capture this pattern and kind of stamp it. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm going to switch my brush to the extractors. Okay? In particular, I'm going to use for this one, I'm going to use drag rec. Okay? And what I want to do now is I want to capture this, what I've been doing in here. All right? So all I have to do is say, all right, let's hit the G key and then click and drag, and I'm looking at a circle, and when I get enough of this, I say, okay, that's enough. There, I let go. Okay, and what ZBrush is doing is looking at the surface, and it's going to make a map for me. So obviously I'm sitting at 12 million polygons. This will take a minute for me to do this, right? So this is something, again, where doing this might be easier if I drop the polygon count a little bit and then capture this. But even just looking at this screen, right? Look at what I've been doing on the left, screen left compared to screen right, right? Those are really popping off. And don't forget, I'm going to be doing another pass of some smoothing. I've still got another subdivision level. I'm going to be doing more things to this, right? But this is the start of my process to start making these wrinkles happen. I probably shouldn't have done this at 12 million because it probably will take about a minute to get this. But what this is doing is it's going to rip off what I made here and put it on the brush. So now that's going to be a stamp for me to be able to do whatever I want with. And I can, in essence, reuse it over and over and over again. So this is the process I'm going to start doing. and going through my model now and start working on that to start looking at, hey, I want to have more information, obviously, and more details, more skin details. Okay? So there, it's done. So see, there's my alpha that got made. Okay, so now I can draw out this alpha. See, and then that's what I'm getting. And now I can say, you know what? I don't want any focal shift on this. Right, so when I draw out, see there's no focal shift. So this is straight, pretty much getting what I want. And then I find the Z intensity that maybe I can work for. So maybe I can do stuff like this now. And then now I've got a stamp. So in essence, I would make multiple variations of this so it's not so repetitive of a pattern. Right? So this extractor brush is going to be my saving grace, right? So this is going to work the same when I come down here and let's say, let's drop down just so we don't have to wait so long. I'm going to drop down to the 3 million mark. Okay, so then let's say, let's grab a standard. Let's grab a spray. And let's even do this. And on the arms, there's a different type of wrinkling happening. Something more like that, right? So I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Okay. And I'm going to adjust this. So I don't like how that's too much noise happening. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. And in my stroke, I want to adjust this. Okay, so I'm going to make the flow a little different. Okay, so that's a little bit better. I'm also going to say the placement be more spread out. A little bit more like that. The scale is good. Let's go with even less flow. And then you could even, if I wanted to, switch to an alpha like this. And you can see what you get, right? So if you have an alpha that's more like a dome, you're going to get bumpiness like that. Okay, so I'm just affecting, right, this. So you can see this kind of stuff is really fast to do now, right? You can do things like that. Okay, so I want to go back to, let's go with this one again. Because I kind of want this. Right? And now, of course, I can even do something now like this. Instead of doing the stamp, okay, I'm going to do just the extractor. Okay? And then now the difference here is I'm going to start from the top here. I'm going to hit that G-G-G-G-K. Okay? And how big this blue is how much is it going to capture. So I want to go about that size. And now you click, and that blue line in the middle is the line that it's going to capture in 2. I let go, and now I'm grabbing the whole line of alpha, right? So you can see there's that alpha. I'm going to turn off this texture, and then now this brush is set up for me to quickly just do this, right? And of course, my focal shift is going to play a role on how much of a roll off I get. Right? So if I want even a bigger roll off, like that, right? You can do stuff like this, right? So you got to think about this in the sense of, if now I took the time and I just did a brush and I do magnify as an example. Let's see, there you are. Okay, and then I want to start doing like little blobs like this. Which he's going to have. This brush is perfect for a gremlin. Because this is the kind of thing I'm going to do for his skin on his arms and his legs too. This brush is perfect. Right? So obviously clicking one at a time is very time consuming. So what I'm showing you guys is a way that once you got a large piece of this where you want it, right? So I pull back so you get like that look. Now if you imagine that everywhere, it's going to look pretty cool. Right? And then of course now you can also switch to a spray. Right? And then see it's going to just give you something like that. More like irregularities. Oops, I hit Command Save by accident. Okay, so then obviously again, I would just I would do a large sum of it. Like, it's worth the time to do this. Like, just take your time. This is where, again, I go back to those amazing artists from the past and that used to have to do this. Steve Johnson's, the Rick Baker's, the, you know, change your draw size up so you get different sizes, you know, and then maybe add in little differences in there, right? And you got to remember, you're going to need to make variations, right? Because these shouldn't stay all the same size. There should be versions where there's kind of the bigger ones and smaller ones, okay? And then doing this. Right, on and on and on, on and on and on, right? And then now I would grab this. So now I would say Extractor, I'm going to say dots again. Hit the G key, and now I just click and drag where the circle stops. Then that's all what's going to get put in the alpha. Right, so now it's generating from the alpha. And again, this is why I'm saying grabbing it at a lower level is probably better. Because again, I'm going to divide this up, and that faceting will also not be so prominent, right? And then now I just click and drag this out, and then now you got that. So I'm going to drop the focal shift a lot more. Let's go all the way down to 0 for this one. Yeah, and then see, now I can do this. And then come in here and do maybe some small ones. And then do this, and then do that, and then now a bigger one. So he's boiling in water. But you can see this will be a lot faster than doing one at a time. But I can't stress enough, you need to have, like, I would have like 6 or 7 or 8 different ones of these alphas. So it's just not so repetitive, repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Right? So this is going to be my goal, is getting my guy looking great, start adding all these details. Then I'm going to, now that I have all these details, I'm going to be able to do another level of detailing as well. Then, of course, you can throw this, if you wanted to, into surface noise. It's not tileable, though, so you need to make it into a tileable alpha. This is not tileable, so it doesn't look cross and just automatically make it seamless. Okay, so that's going to be your problem in putting in something like a noise, or if I threw UVs on this, right? You can make something really big and make a tile and apply it by UVs if you wanted to. Right, so if I, here, let's go low as an example. Okay, and I click on this, drag it over. Let's go to UV Master. I'm going to go and say work on clone, which is going to work on this, right? So I'm looking at this guy right now, right? This is what I'm looking at. So I'm going to say really quickly, enable control painting. I'm going to protect the back. I kind of want, actually, let's just do an attract, which is just pretty much saying where I want the scene to go. Let's just see. It's not going to do that great of a job, but whatever. For the sake of things, real quickly, let's just see what we get. Okay, and then I'm going to say unwrap that. Okay, we'll let that finish unwrapping. Okay, so to your question about that, right? And then now I can flatten this, and then there's what the UVs look like of the body. Like, I would take my time to do better UVs than this for sure. Okay, but then I can say copy those UVs. Let's go to the non version that has all the information that I want. Okay, I'm gonna paste those UVs, and now I can go, let's say, up a level, let's go up another level, let's go up another level, let's go up one more, let's go to 3 million. And then now, because I have UVs on it, I can come here to UV map, and I can say morph UVs. Oh, I got my layers still on here, so let me delete those. And morph this, and what we're gonna get now is the sculpted version. And you can see where I've sculpted wrinkles and all this. So you can actually now just grab this brush, right? And I can just do this on the UV version. And so in essence, if you had a repeatable image, you could just use Spotlight with a repeatable image And you can do one swooping angle across. I'd probably stay away from the edges though, because that ain't gonna work well, right? And then unmorph that, and then all that, see all that sculpted detail gets added. Right now it looks like that side of his arm was like boiled. Okay. So there you go. So my next step here is going to be, hopefully I can get him where I have him really sculpted. I've got a lot of my wrinkling, all my wrinkling, major wrinklings done. And then I'm starting to do all this stuff on his arm and all this stuff on his head and through his ears. And then that way we can use that to push the elements in the next stream, look at some painting ability for the next stream, and then do some posing. Okay? So fortunately, I got to get going here. Let me see if any questions that I may have missed from you guys. And then I know, Juber, you asked way back when I was making the Extractor brushes. Yeah, you can totally just start with planes. So in essence, I can maybe take 8 different planes and then fill a plane, kind of what I was doing, and then make different variations of it. Yeah, mental element, elemental. Also brought up a great thing. I do the same thing. That person was saying they hit it with the Damien Standard, and after that they hit it with the Inflate brush, which sells the wrinkling really well. 100%. That's a good thing I do too. I'll do that as well. That's definitely a very popular practice. Okay, so there you go. Here's where I'm at. Obviously with my Gremlin, I've been working away at getting some of these better details in there. So right now I'm really working on getting some of like the bigger kind of larger wrinkling, getting all this down in the face, and now I'm going to do that through the whole body, because don't forget I'm going to be adding all these elements, so a lot of this wrinkling is going to get pushed back from when I start adding these little other elements of the scales to him. No, and the Extractor is not a VDM. So that's why you got to choose. If you want to use VDM, like I showed last week, then you got to use VDM. But the Extractors are no more like, no, they're a 2D. So you can see it doesn't say 3D on the alpha. You know it's a VDM if it says 3D in the alpha. And then yes, this would be for your XYZ mapping. That's what 100% what you could do in there. So you could grab the data from your scan, the way I was just grabbing the data from him, and then immediately turns it into an alpha, and then now you just click and drag it out. 100%, yes. That's how you could grab bits of the scan data from a model, right? All right, no plastic. Thanks for joining. I know we got some regulars in there. Randy the Dice, Ibrahim, Nerb, thank you for joining. The next Gremlin stream is next Friday. I'm always on Fridays. And then obviously you guys want to be mindful of, for those of you that have just joined me, maybe you're seeing this stream for the first time. Of course, what we've been working in is ZBrush for you guys. So what you might be wanting to do, if you've been enjoying what I've been doing, the craziness that I've been going on, we do, of course, have a free trial. So you can go here to get ZBrush, and you can try ZBrush here. Okay, so we have a free trial of ZBrush, but we also have multiple tiers of ZBrush as well. So there's a ZBrush Core, but it's not going to have a lot of the features like I just showed are not in ZBrush Core. Okay, and then of course you can get ZBrush here, and we have different ways to you purchasing ZBrush as well, which is you can use subscription for $39.95 per month. You could also do $179 for every 6 months, or a perpetual license for $895. This is all US dollars. Keep in mind, anybody that owns a perpetual license is free upgrades. So we've never charged for an upgrade. It's been 20 years, and we still haven't charged for an upgrade. So this is a great way to go. So this is something that you guys can definitely take advantage of now that we have subscription as well. And then, of course, we've got ZBrush Core as well. But it will not have like the Extractor brush. It won't have like that clay polish feature, but you can at least get in the ZBrush world for 10 bucks a month, or for just straight up $179.95 for a ZBrush Core license. And if you do have ZBrush Core and you start really liking it, you can upgrade to ZBrush, and we actually give you a $100 discount on the perpetual license. So instead of being $8.95, it would be $7.95. And then, you guys, if you guys are enjoying the streams, now that my Gremlin's gone a lot better now, I'm probably going to start making a post on ZBrush Central. So again, if you're on ZBrush Central, I've said this in the past, my username for my Pixologic username is PixoPaul, which you can see right here. So if you guys in the chat, if you guys ever want to communicate, or you're trying to do maybe a technique that I showed in my stream, you're not quite getting it, this is a great spot to reach out to me. So it's the @PixoPaul. I will get an email so I know you reached out to me. Okay? So, but this is a great place for resources. So like I said, I'm going to probably start, now that my Gremlin's a lot further along, I'll probably start posting that here so people can see what I've been doing in the streams. But it's a great place just for getting inspiration. You guys can share things, talk to each other, okay? So I would definitely look at becoming a member here for ZBrush Central if you're not already a member. As far as the ZBrush Summit goes, no, there are no release dates or updates for you right now on that. When we'll be making an announcement at some point, so it will happen. We will make an announcement whether we're having it or not having it. Okay, and for the most part, obviously if we're having it, we'll make an announcement, but we still have not decided what we'll be doing for the ZBrush Summit. Okay, so I appreciate you all watching, and again, if you're learning a lot from us here in the streams, don't also forget you can also learn ZBrush besides the Summit or ZBrush Central. We also have a free Z Classroom that you can go, and of course you guys are all watching on YouTube. We got a great YouTube channel. But what's nice here is you guys can do like searches. You can say here, I'm looking for extract, right? And then you can put this in. You can find things that are extract, right? You can say Zremesher, start typing that out, and then there's a searchability here, and these are like great little free videos, learning videos. You can make an account here and even store everything where you're at. So the Z Classroom is another great spot for you guys to go to be able to learn things about ZBrush. Okay, so this is where I'm at pretty much with the front of his face. Is now my treatment that I'm going to be doing to the rest of the head, the rest of the body. Okay, and then my next step is doing what we've been talking about today, doing this kind of stuff, that kind of stuff, and doing this up here, right? And then now combining all these elements. So hopefully next time I see you guys, he's pretty scaled up pretty far. Hopefully at least the whole head's done to a point where I like it, and hopefully I can get most of the body done. I know my schedule gets crazy fast, so but I'm done with major parts blocking out, major wrinkles, and now I'm starting to get in secondary wrinkles, secondary tertiary details, like all I'm doing through here and all through there. And again, when you look really close, you see it's still, right? See, it's still very, but if I'm not going to show this, it's no big deal, right? Because from this distance, even from this distance, you're not going to tell. Even when I go and say, all right, let's render this out, right? It's going to look even a little bit better. It's a little different. It looks great. I'm fine with that. Looking good. It all comes down to how close am I going to let you get to him, of course, right? And then my shadows right now are, I don't like the shadows. I would want to throw some angle on that, and then this is way too strong. I'd probably do something more in that world, just to start off, just to start getting less shadows, right? So to give myself a little bit better of a shadowing happening through there. I'd have to go play with this to get this where I want it to go. Okay, so thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys took away a lot from the stream. You had a blast. It's been fun making this Gremlin and going back to my childhood and watching the movies again. So I really want to finish this guy because I've been having fun making him. It's been a good time. I really enjoyed the process. So thank you again. This is Paul Gaboury with ZBrush, another ZBrush live episode from Pixologic. I appreciate you for watching. Please stay tuned. We have more streams coming up all next week. We've got streams coming from all the other colleagues. Dice K goes on Mondays. We have our ZBrush Masters that happen on Tuesday. Next Tuesday is going to be Ben Moreau. So, Ben, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. Wednesdays is Joseph Drust. Thursdays is Solomon Blair. And then I've got Fridays. So by all means, please take a look at our calendar. Right now, it does not have the June in it, but we will be updating that. The team's working on that right now as we speak, verifying all the upcoming streams also from everybody else, not just from the streams coming from us as a company, but we got also our resident streamers. Okay, so you'd want to visit this calendar here and you can see any upcoming streams. So this will be populated for June coming up, right? And then that's great about this calendar is if you guys click on any of these activities, you can actually do an email reminder and you can add it to your calendars as well. Okay, so please keep an eye on that. I've been also showing the streams coming up. Thank you again. Looking forward to see you again another one of my crazy, wacky Gremlin streams. It's been awesome. Have a fantastic day. Have a delicious evening for those that it's all evening now. This is Paul, and